cold here in Vancouver. We've had many days of rain, and it's just, you go out in it and you come back in and it's in your bones. You know that feeling where it's in your bones. So that calls for soup. No one in the house is sick, but you don't need to wait to get sick to eat this soup. I hope you don't wait to get sick to eat this soup and make this soup. So Sniffle Soup, the link is on in the description to the video. It's actually a link that has 5 soup recipes, but when you link through, you'll see Sniffle Soup there. And it's also in Plant-Powered Families. There it is here, Sniffle Soup. It's seriously one of the easiest soups to make, and it is one you return to over and over, and then you can just kind of wing it. Like, you don't have to measure things out. Hello, Melanie. She's putting on a pot of black beans. Okay, from Rancho Gordo. And on the stovetop. Oh, that sounds really good. I was thinking forks over knives. I have a black bean soup recipe on the forks over knives site. I'm wondering if that's the one. But mine has sweet potatoes in it. I have never used the Rancho Gordo beans, and I hear amazing things about them. So tell me why they're so good. Is it the variety? Is it the freshness? And right now it's not really feasible for me to order them because I can't get to the US to get to our mailbox. But I'd love to know more. Nicole says, hi Nicole. First grader requested banana for his back to school lunch. I'm not really found. Oh, you made a batch of Sniffle Soup. Oh, nice. So awesome. Nicole made, banana bread. Reading your second comment. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the banana bread. That's also on my site too. And Stephanie, thank you. It's good to be back. And she made a pot of red lentil curry yesterday. That sounds so good. You know what? Red lentils are my favorite. I think they're my favorite legume. And that's because, one, they're super easy to cook. You don't need to soak them. They take about 15 minutes to cook through, and they digest really well. Like, they just feel good to eat them. Do you guys get that when you eat red lentils? They just, I don't know, they feel good in the body. Oh, lots of people making amazing things. Vicky says she's making okara cookies. And is that how you say it? Is it okara or okra? No, okra is the green vegetable, from making soy milk. Well, you're like a superhero making soy milk. Holy smokes. Yum, 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 yum. That sounds so good. And okay, Melanie says Rancho Gordo's heirloom beans, and they're very fresh. Oh, and I can order in Canada. Okay, I'm gonna have to have a look. All right, let's get started with the soup. And I've already begun without having some of my ingredients, so hang on. Getting my carrots and my celery. I can hear the dog is sniffing at the door now that he knows I'm out here. No worries, Stephanie. But texting or typing something incorrect, that's totally fine. So we're starting with the soup, and I'm just looking. I never really look at the recipe when I make this now. I just kind of throw it in there, but I will look at the recipe just to kind of, help you guys follow along. So I'm adding a splash of water for saute. You could also add a splash of white wine. I have not had a sip of alcohol all of January, and I wasn't trying to do. I'm not a big I really don't drink much alcohol to begin with. I might have a few sips of wine occasionally, just before dinner. But all of January, I wanted nothing, absolutely nothing. And so the little bit of wine that we had from Christmas, I still have it. It's probably not going to taste the best, so I might just add a little bit for saute, and the alcohol burns off. But you don't have to, of course, right? It's not a pressure. If you're totally against wine, then just, of course, and it's not even in the recipe. Sometimes it adds a nice flavor to add a little bit of saute with wine. And we're going to get to chopping the veggies. I always chop everything but onions first because I hate chopping onions. I say it all the time. It's like my nemesis. I hate chopping onions. So I always chop everything first. Otherwise, all I smell is onion, and it drives me crazy. So I'm going to chop the carrots and celery first. And so how fine you want to chop here is up to you, right? If you like chunkier veg in the soup, go for it. My knife is not very sharp. Not very sharp. Don't do what I do. Get your knife sharpened. I have one of those little sleeves that sharpens it. It's not like a super high quality knife. I know, I should get like a fancy, smancy one, but then you gotta go get it sharpened. It's just like another job. Anyways, I'm rambling. So I'm just gonna make it a fairly fine chop, not super fine, but a dice. And that way, it's not big chunks in the soup, and you can just, it almost gets really soft and almost dissolves into the soup. And for the carrot, we've got like a cup of carrot, but I'm just throwing in what I've got here. And I think I may double the soup because I have coming up on 3 teenagers. So Charlotte's 19. Charlotte, that wee girl on Vive la Vegan, some of you have that cookbook and you know she was like a toddler then. She's now 19, and Bridget's 16, and Hope is almost 12, and Hope's in competitive swimming 5 days a week. So she hoovers through the food. They all do. And just checking if there's any more comments. If you have questions, guys, go ahead and ask. I'm going to grab some more carrots. And so I tend to double everything. I kind of long, there's a part of me that longs for the old days when they were little and they would just have those little bellies and eat just a little bit of food, and a pot of soup would last for like 3-4 nights. Now, if I get a night with a pot of soup, like, yeah, it lasts a night and maybe a little bit for me for leftovers the next day for dinner. So that's it. Oh, Jill's saying, hi Jill, she loves the SNIFFLE soup. Thank you. And then, I haven't made this one on video because I figure like it's one that people make a lot and it's so easy, but maybe that's the reason I should show it on video, right? It's because it is easy and people love it. And now I'm using some baby carrots that are getting a little sad, as you can see. They're in the fridge and they've hung out for a few days. So I know no one's going to eat them fresh this way, but they can still be used in soup, right? They're not inedible, and they will cook up nicely in the soup. Okay. And now some celery. I have celery in the garden. I did that trick where you keep the base and you put it in soil and then let it sprout. And I put it in the garden in, I guess it would be like when the pandemic started. I'm so sick of using that word. Is anyone else tired of talking about that? Every time I hear the word, I'm like, no, stop. But I put it in the garden, and it's already, or not already, because it started to grow through the summer, but even now through the winter, because we have mild winters here in BC, it's growing, doing its thing. The celery, it's like a full thing of celery. So this is not that celery, but just an interesting note. And Stephanie's saying, yeah, she's got it. Yeah, see? Anyone here, Robin and Stephanie both say once the kids get older, they're like hoovers. They just, it's gone. I say to me, you feel like I feel like I'm feeding a football team. That's how it feels sometimes. So I remember like I'd cook, muffins and then maybe make soup and maybe make hummus in a day. And now, it's like a batch cook of one thing to feed them. How much celery am I using this? I've got a cup. I'm not going to use the full cup today. Well, I'm going to double it, but not use the full 2 cups. Because again, this is a flexible recipe. So what I love about soups is that's where you can use sort of this uninteresting part of the celery, which is the part that many of us just throw out because it's really kind of, mellow in flavor and white, and we think it's not very exciting or nutritive, but it is. And you can use this part in soups really well. Although, wow, this is really dirty underneath here. I'm gonna have to give this a rinse. So, you can get the celery heart, I guess we'd call it, and use all of that instead of the fresh, or not the fresh, but the bright green celery, which sometimes we want to use raw. Or I don't know a lot of people that love raw celery. I use it sometimes in my salads, and I started using it mostly because I know it's exceptionally good for you. But I'm not sure a lot of people love raw celery. I don't think it's one of those, hot vegetables. Not like kale. or sweet potato. Okay, I'm just checking in on comments. And now I'm going with, we've got celery, we've got carrot. You know, it's really nice also if you don't have carrot or you want to use something else, to use sweet potato and dice sweet potato in recipes. It's really nice. It does dissolve down and get much, much softer. So it kind of is a different texture, but it's quite nice. And we've got garlic. I've got like 3 large cloves of garlic. Guys, if you wanted to use the dehydrated garlic, it's a great time to, you know, save time. I bought some recently, and when I'm in a pinch, I'll use it, like that dehydrated kind of garlic. The Flavor Fresh is nicer, so I'm going to use that today. Yeah, Sarah, I am too. Raw celery. I put it in salads. I wouldn't say I'm crazy about it, but I've learned to love it a bit more. And I did, you know, people who have the celery with almond butter or peanut butter and raisins, I never got that. That never really appealed to me. I'd rather have it like in a salad. So I'm just crushing, like pressing the weight of the blade onto, or smashing it onto the garlic to release the skin. And then we'll start chopping. Remove that stem bit that's kind of tough. And my computer is heating up there again. Whenever I go on live, it gets overworked. It gets upset at me. So when you're chopping garlic like this, a tiny smidgen of salt, like just put a little bit of salt on your cutting board, and it helps to work down the garlic a little bit. And so guys, have you been, you know, how are you doing through January? Did any of you have New Year's goals or ambitions that you wanted to work on or work towards? Because we kind of talk about it that first week of January, and then boom, we say nothing. Oh, I'm not really adding the garlic yet. I'm going to wait a bit. We're going to add the other veggies first. So now I do the dreaded onion. Yeah, so January was a big month for me, as I said, and one day I'll share more on it. But that's why I've been kind of quiet. I was kind of working through some things, and February feels like it's going to be a good month. Good month. I'm excited. And it's Valentine's. So see how much I hate onion? I don't even peel it properly. I'm not showing it love here at all. Not showing the onion love. All right, remove that little gnarly bit there. And some more. Sometimes I'll put on the goggles for the onions, because it does work. When you are doing onions, it does work to put the goggles on to keep from crying. But then I've got goggle eyes for about 3 hours. For real. And so, and the onion is, how much onion are we? It's at 1.5 cups of onion. This will be, yeah, this will be close. This will be close. Maybe it'll be a little bit under 3 cups because I'm doubling, but it'll be close. Ugh. Love them and hate them at the same time. Onions, there we go. There we go. And oh, and Vicky's talking about dry January. Yeah, didn't you want wine with dinner? Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's one of those things that, like, sometimes, so I'm just going to show you, when you're doing onions, cut it in half and then keep that stem end roughly intact. And then you work towards the stem end. My knife is so not sharp that anyone who's like a professional chef would just be choking watching this right now. But yeah, when you're off of it, I guess, for a little while, you just don't want it, kind of like a lot of things, I guess. And for me, it just was not something I wanted to have at all this month. And I did not miss it. I have to say, I didn't miss it. But then I'm not someone who has to have wine every day, or like I'd occasionally maybe, oh, I gotta open the window. Ugh. There we are. It's beginning. Yeah, I'd like maybe have literally probably a 1/4 cup, not even, of wine, like that amount of measure that I might have a few sips of before dinner. And then I just didn't want it. So my body, I don't feel my body does well with wine or alcohol in general, not at my age. And I'm not meaning that like I'm an old fogey or anything, but as you get older, like it does, your organs have to work harder to process these things. And for me, my liver, I don't think it is very happy when I'm drinking it, and I just feel like it just makes me really hydrated, and not a few sips, but you know, if I have like, I don't know, a couple of glasses, oh my gosh, I think I'm pretty much toast the next day. I'm quite the lightweight with it. Not like back in the day. Now I'm sounding like an old fogey. Back in the day. Yes, Stephanie, goggles. I think I have. Mary, it's not a girl. I'm putting everything in the compost. This is for compost. That's why I keep throwing it to the side. But I don't like the compost next to me. So I'm just popping this on the stove now and getting that going on like a high heat. Mary said someone find her a garbage bowl. This is just how I work. I'm sure there's a more efficient way of doing it, but this is the way I've been doing it for a while. Yeah, so Stephanie, I do have goggles. I have them in the drawer. I think I have them. I used to. And you know what? I have a little bit of fresh rosemary here. So the recipe does call for rosemary. How much? Having a look. It's 2 teaspoons of dried rosemary? No, fresh. It's fresh. And I usually add it later in the recipe. But for a soup and for rosemary, because it's such a hearty herb, add it early. You can absolutely add this early, which is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to measure out all my spices and then bring them over at once. So I've got that on the stove. I can't really show you. Well, I guess I can. I'll move the computer after, but it starts to like scream at me. It gets loud. And let's see if I have the goggles. Yep. Actually using these I use sometimes. They're my daughter's old swim goggles. So check this out. Now that's a look, right? Yeah, that's a look you want to have. There we go. Oh, that's hard on the face. Okay, so I've got that in there, and I have no shame, girls and boys, ladies, women, men. I just, you know, having fun here. So I've got about a teaspoon of salt. This is a double recipe now, keep in mind. However, I'm not sure I have quite as much lentils as I need, so I'm going to go easy on the salt and then see after. And paprika, I want to add smoked paprika. Now guys, I've talked about smoked paprika a lot. If you have not experienced it, definitely get some. I'll try to update the link after and add, you know, a link to, do I have a site on my site? I'm wondering if I have a post about smoked paprika. I don't, but I know I can give you an Amazon link if you want to see it. But paprika to me doesn't have a lot of flavor at all, but smoked paprika is a total different thing. It's a game changer. So I'm not going to use 2 teaspoons. That would be doubling, just because it is stronger in flavor. I'm just going to use a teaspoon. And so I have that on a medium-high heat, and if it starts to stick, you can add some water, no splash of water. Hi, yes, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce your name correctly, Jatsana. I'm not sure if that's correct. The recipe link is in the description to this video. So maybe when the video is over, I don't know if you can see it there now, but afterwards you can certainly go back and get it. It's also in my Plant Part Families cookbook. I will get this one day. There we are. And that is how it looks when it's done. Oh, okay, and Vicki said she just looked under Sniffle Soup and it popped right up. If you Google Sniffle Soup, you're going to find this recipe. It's so popular that it's just become like one of those recipes that a lot of people have made over the years. I've had this recipe for a while. It's just been really popular. What am I adding? Curry powder. So just a little bit of curry powder, and I suggest a mild curry powder here, not a really hot curry powder. If you love more heat, then of course you can adjust. But I find for, you know, kids and a family, this works nicely. And the curry doesn't come through really strong. It doesn't taste like a curry dish. It's a background note. It's really nice. So trust me on the curry, even though it seems a little odd to have the curry with the rosemary and those other seasonings. What else have I got? Thyme, a little bit of thyme. So we've got about a quarter teaspoon of thyme. I'm just gonna wing that and throw it in there. And what else have I got? Some stock. So I use these cubes, and I'm going to throw that in and then add. Thank you, Mary, for adding the link. I did put the link in the description, but Mary has added it in the thread of comments, which might be easier for you guys to find. So I'm putting the cube in, and then I'll add the water after. And now I'm going to add the garlic. So the reason I didn't add the garlic first is that garlic can burn really easily, and when it does, it changes the taste. It does not taste good. When you're sauteing onions and other vegetables like carrots and celery and things that take a little bit of time, saute those first and get the juices going and they start to work down. And then add the garlic, because by then you've got those vegetables simmered down a little bit and the garlic can cook in those juices a little bit. It also helps to reduce the temperature after you add the garlic. So keep an eye on that and don't let it burn. It really, really tastes nasty when it does. All right, I've got that in. And I'm going to just add another splash of water. This is my favorite cutting board, guys. See this little guy here? And yesterday I put up a vegan Valentine's Day gift guide. Every gift guide I've done, I think I've included this cutting board. It's by Epicurean. I'm not paid by Epicurean. It's not a sponsored thing. I've had this one for over 10 years, I think, because I'm pretty sure I had it in our last house. And it is so durable, and it doesn't hold this, like the odors. That onion, which is, you know, so troubling to me, when I wash this, it doesn't hold it. And other cutting boards I've had, they do, like they hold those odors. And you can throw it in the dishwasher, and it's made from all this like eco, you know, post-recycled whatever. I don't know. It's a good cutting board. So if you want, I'll add the link to that after as well. But if you go to my Valentine's Day post from, I think that was yesterday, yeah, you'll see it on my blog. It's called Epicurean. Super nice. I also have a bigger one. I'm letting that cook away here. Like I have this size, but it's so big. It's so big. I like the little one. It's nice and handy, easy to use and move around. Okay, so this is where I'm going to move the computer and show you now how nicely that's simmering down. See that? It's coming along. And the juices are out from the vegetables. And now I'm going to add the lentils. So these are the red lentils. I buy them and put them in a container like this usually, or sometimes I have them in a bigger container. And red lentils are pretty dirt cheap, guys, so you know, stock up on them and then use them in so many different recipes. You can find more on my site, but you can find lots of vegan recipes with red lentils. And we are using how many? Oh, I think I'll put a little pepper in there. Sorry, you know. A little pepper. And we're using how many? I'll get it. I should know my recipe. 2 cups. All right. So 2 cups, and you do want to rinse them. So sometimes red lentils might have like little stones in there. Not often, but I rinse them all the time anyhow. Just because sometimes they're a bit dusty, and just rinse them, right? It's not a big deal. So I used 3 cups, and here's the reason why. I pre-cooked some lentils the other day. What was I baking them for? I don't know. I just cooked a bunch of red lentils. And it's been in the fridge for a few days, so now I'm going to add this to the soup too. It's already cooked lentils. It's about 2 cups, maybe a little less. And I'm just, instead of using that extra cup of red lentils, well, maybe I'll add in 1/4 cup. then I just throw in what I have there. Oh, I made some really good red lentil patties with the red lentils. That's what it was. It's a recipe that's going to be in, so my new cookbook is out in August, as I've told you. And we're doing like a ebook, a bonus pre-order ebook. And I have this really delicious red lentil patties in the ebook. Like a miso red lentil patties, super good. And I was making those, but then I realized I had no miso. Awesome, kind of the key ingredient. So then I just came up with something else, and it worked fine. So that's the good thing about cooking, right? We can go with the flow with it. It's not like baking. So I just pulled this off the stove to show you adding the lentils. And they're really sticky after you rinse them. Like they cling on to everything. There. And then I'm also going to add, and this is not part of the recipe, but as I mentioned, I already had it cooked, the extra red lentils I had. And yeah, they don't need to go in right away, but they can, so keep it easy. And now we need a lot of water. So we had 3 cups of stock. I think I used a 2-cup stock cube. So let's go 1, 2, 3 cups of stock. I need more water. You can see how frantic I am in the kitchen. This is how I cook. I'm not like the chefs you see on cooking shows. This is real life stuff. And I'm using a little less stock than in the recipe. I find sometimes with doubling it, you do need to adjust down with the salt. I don't know why. And then just adjust to taste after. And waiting for my water to filter. So that was 3 cups of water, and then we also need, no, it was 3 cups of stock. Oh yeah, and more water, yes. Okay. And we need another, about 3 cups of water. Oh, but I have some of the lentils are pre-cooked, so I'm not gonna add as much water because they're pre-cooked. So that should do it. I can always add more water, right? And I like this soup on the thicker side, so I sometimes use less water than I actually call for in the recipe because I like it to be a little thicker. So now this is going to get back on the stove. It technically should be on the stove when I'm making it. I just moved it over here for you. And I'm going to add some bay leaves. Well, these are really motley looking bay leaves. They're really small and crumbled up. Okay. Oh, is that bay leaves? No, that's... Okay, I'm going to use what I have. They're really kind of puny, and some are cracked up, but okay. I once had a bay leaf tree, and the fresh bay leaves were so much better. I can't even put into words how much more flavorful they were. All right, that should do it. 4 little bits. And this is going on the stove, okay? I think I've got everything covered. Yep. So we turn this up to a boil, bring it all up to a boil. Once the mixture's boiling, bring it down to simmer, cover it, let it cook for, what have I got? Like 10 minutes? Depends on the lentils. Sometimes lentils are a little bit fresher, older, and they might take a little more time. But I'd say for sure like 15 to 20 minutes should do it. I'm thinking 15 will do here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I misspoke. Yeah, so it should be about 15 to 20 minutes. And I've added the rosemary. I might add more later, but I think I'm good. What else was I going to tell you? Oh, when the soup is done. So once it's finished, that's going to simmer for about 15 minutes. It's going to smell really good. And then once it's cooked, add a little bit of apple cider vinegar. It's crazy talk. But just a little bit, like about a tablespoon. It's in the recipe. It kind of livens up the flavors that are in the soup. You could also opt for lemon juice if you cannot use vinegar, but a lot of people can use apple cider vinegar when they can't use some other vinegar, right? But it's just a little bit, like a tablespoon. You don't want it vinegary. It just heightens the flavor. And yeah, so that's cooking now. I'm not gonna keep talking while it cooks, 'cause I think that will just be a little bit boring for you, sitting there watching me talk instead of cook. But if you have any questions, I'm just gonna look through and see. Oh, okay, lots of feedback here on cutting boards and smoked paprika. Yes, awesome. Ooh, yeah, that sounds good. Okay. Oh, Stephanie adds she buys her beans and lentils at an Indian grocery store in her area, along with spices. That's a really good idea because they have a great variety and they're usually cheaper, right? Especially for spices too. Like you can buy some really beautiful spices and they're cheaper than if you try to get them in a grocery store usually, right? Yeah. So I guess that's it. And Lori, I'm glad you like the soup too. That's great. So this is the finished, how the soup looks finished. When it's plated beautifully, of course, for a photograph. In my house, it's not looking quite as pretty as that when it goes to the table, but doesn't need to, right? And I'll tell you, my girls love it with avocado on top too, because avocado goes with most things in this house. But tonight we're probably gonna have some, I've got some like whole grain bread in the freezer, and I'll probably make some garlic bread with it. Oh, I'm gonna share my tip. I'm gonna share my very exciting garlic bread tip. Can you guys wait for me to go get the frozen sliced bread and you can see my super exciting tip? Okay, so hold tight, I'm gonna go get the bread. I know how to deliver a cooking show, right? Leave the camera, leave them guessing what's going on here. So this is the whole grain bread that I have. It's a Vancouver brand. It says Vancouver Island whole grain loaf, Portofino. It's really nice, it's a whole grain loaf, simple ingredients. This is how you make awesome garlic bread, and it's easy. You don't have to fuss with the garlic. I have one clove left to do it. So get your garlic clove. Just get the end off it, or you take all of the skin off it, but I just get the end off it, enough that you have the flesh, okay? Then your frozen bread, it becomes like a grater. And you take your bread and you grate that garlic on the bread, and the garlic goes right into the bread. Isn't that brilliant? Boom. And then you can bake it up and top it with whatever you like. I mean, if you want to use like a vegan butter, you can do that. But what I like to do is use a nut cheese, like a cashew cheese, put that on top, and then some of my Parmesan sprinkle. So good. But look at this, 2 slices of bread, and the clove is like halfway grated down. Isn't that cool? That's your tip, guys, but it has to be frozen bread. So you want it pre-sliced in the freezer, then take it out frozen, and because it's so rock hard and frozen, it will literally act like a grater for your garlic. Isn't that fun? And that is my pro tip of the day. That is probably more exciting than the soup, isn't it? Being able to make garlic bread that way. And then I put like cashew cheese. Oh, and my sprinkle. I'll show my sprinkle. So this one I've been making a lot. I always reuse our like nut butter jars. And this one I've been making with nutritional yeast. And I used to make it all the time with cashews and almonds, but lately I've been doing it with pumpkin seeds. The brand of pumpkin seeds that I love, the Scuda. And it's delicious, delicious, delicious. And pumpkin seeds are so nutrient packed, and we tend to eat more nuts than seeds, right? So this is a really, really good option to get the seeds in there. So yeah, give that a try. Garlic bread, sniffle soup, it's gonna be good. Oh, and I'll probably also throw in some like spinach in the bowls and let the soup wilt down the spinach. Like just throw some baby spinach in the bowl, put the soup on top, boiling hot soup. The soup will just wilt the spinach and your greens are wilted and it's into your soup. Boom, got your greens and your beans. Beans and greens, beans and greens. Okay, that's it guys. Enjoy, and I'm just gonna keep chatting on if I don't clue up the video now, and I usually go for like half hour, 40 minutes. So thanks for joining. It's really nice to be doing a video with you again, and I'll be back with another one soon, okay? Thanks for your community and always being lovely people on the other end of the computer. I appreciate it very much. Blessings to you all.